Let's talk about Jay-Z and Eminem. And this topic was brought up on the Joe Budden podcast. I don't know which episode. I didn't get a chance to really view the clip. I just saw the portion where I believe Ish says, if you were to take away Eminem from hip hop and act like he never existed, and then if you were to take away Jay-Z from hip hop and act like he never existed, which one would be the one that would take away more from hip hop? Like, which one would have more of the impact removed? Basically saying, hey, which one made more of an impact in terms of hip hop? That if they got removed, things would change drastically, right? There's a lot of ways to approach this, but I'm going to keep this very simple. One, I'm not going to go over, if Eminem wasn't here, we wouldn't have 50 Cent, G-Unit, we wouldn't have D12, we wouldn't have this, we wouldn't have that. Oh, if Jay-Z wasn't here, we wouldn't have Kanye West, we wouldn't have Rihanna, we wouldn't have J. Cole, we wouldn't have all this. Because I wholeheartedly believe a lot of those artists would have made it with or without Jay-Z or Eminem. Regardless. 50 Cent was on a path, had a buzz. Half of Get Rich or Die Trying was already made before Eminem even got involved. Now, Eminem obviously took 50's career to a whole different level. That's no debate. But in terms of 50 making it, he would have made it at a certain point, regardless. He was blackballed, but the buzz was so hot that one label would have signed him and been like, yo, I rock with you, and let's push you. Same on the Jay-Z side. Kanye, first off, Jay-Z was really against Kanye rapping initially. Dame Dash was behind him, but initially Jay-Z wasn't even cool with it. So that's the kind of crazy thing. But Kanye would have made it regardless, with or without Jay-Z support. Rihanna potentially would have made it with or without Jay-Z support. J. Cole would have made it. He already had a buzz going with or without Jay-Z support. So I'm not going to go into that. I think a lot of those artists would have made it with or without their support. Some you could argue, D12 would have really made it without Eminem, blah, blah, blah. Jay-Z and Rockefeller would, Beanie Siegel make, whatever. Like, you can argue those little schematics. I'm not really interested in that conversation because like I said, believe they would have made it regardless. A lot of those artists would have made it regardless of Jay-Z and Eminem not being there, right? So that leaves us with, what other impact, right? Musically, culturally, business, whatever. First, the easiest way to look at it is, at least to me, is who made the genre bigger? That's really what this is about. And I hate to make this a black and white thing, but with Eminem, you have to make it a black and white thing because Eminem is a white artist. And Eminem being a white artist in a predominantly black culture and hip-hop music, he is an anomaly. He is a rare specimen. Let's just say that. And that in itself makes a huge impact. With that being said, Eminem is a way bigger impact. I want to say way, I think that's exaggerating, but he is a bigger impact than Jay-Z. And I want to say this is no disrespect to Jay-Z, no disrespect to Eminem, nothing, right? I'm just voicing my opinion. I respect both of these guys. Jay-Z's been one of the longest, hardest working artists, longevity-wise, career. It's almost perfect. Same with Eminem. Longevity, they both killed it. They're both legends in the game. We know that, right? Eminem's impact, though, is bigger because Eminem took hip-hop and made it global. Before Eminem, it was still an American thing, for the most part, right? Yeah, you had a couple records that went global and did its thing, but Eminem literally toured the whole world and had people that never had interest in hip-hop music ever in their lives listen to it. And I come from Europe, so I know over there who they were listening to and what they were checking out. Yeah, they checked out Tupac and Biggie, of course, but Tupac and Biggie died. Their legacies got a lot bigger. Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. But this all got grown to a different level when Eminem became big. And you're probably like, well, how can you prove that, Quake? You're just saying, blah, blah, blah. Well, one, records, obviously. Eminem has the biggest selling hip-hop album of all time with the Eminem Show. Over 40 million, I think 41 million records sold worldwide, which is the biggest selling hip-hop album of all time right now. So that's numbers-wise, you can prove it. But there's another way you can prove it. And a lot of people forget this. And this is what I would have said on the Joe Budden podcast. Every year, besides the first year that Eminem came out with his the Slim Shady LP, but every year after that, up until I believe 2000 and when Eminem was in prime, 2010, so recovery, every year when he would drop an album, everyone else would sell a lot more too. Now you're wondering, well, how is this possible? Why? Well, back in the day when you actually had to go get CDs, you would go to the store and you would see a rack of CDs. And let's just say a kid was going to buy an Eminem album, right? You would see the Eminem album, let's say Marshall Mathers LP, want to buy it. But then you would see other albums surrounding that. And maybe this person, heard DMX or heard Jay-Z or heard Nelly or heard Ludacris, whoever, right, at the time that was popping was like, you know what? I like this Nelly song. I like this Ludacris song. I like this Jay-Z record. Let me buy this album too. And that's why sales were boosted, because it encouraged Eminem. Let's just keep it a buck here. Let's keep it 100% honest. White people bought more albums than black people did. So it would encourage white people to go to the store, look at an Eminem CD, buy it, and then potentially buy a CD from DMX, Nelly, or whoever else was popping at the time. And that's just the reality of the situation. Eminem made hip-hop global. Taking him out of it. Now, the argument that can be made is who had more of an impact on other artists. It's obviously Eminem. I want to say long shot, but it's pretty clear. If you go and look and you ask artists that came out after 1999 or 2000, let's just say, a lot of them credited Eminem, and they credited Jay-Z, both. But Jay-Z, here's why. If Jay-Z was removed, it really wouldn't be a huge impact on hip-hop. Because, and I hate to say this because it doesn't have to be about skin color, but in this case it is, because Eminem is a different skin color, so we have to bring this up. If you were to remove Jay-Z, he is just another black lyrical artist. And I hate to, because that's it's simplifying it, because that's not really, if you deep dive into it, obviously Jay-Z is one of the greatest lyrical artists that's out there. But at the end of the day, he is a black lyrical artist. If you remove him out of there, somebody would replace that spot easily in terms of music, right? And the reason why I'm mentioning music is because there's something that Jay-Z can't be replaced by, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But musically, Jay-Z could have been replaced. It isn't really that big of a anomaly. It's not nothing super unique. Yeah, Jay-Z has his own unique flow and stuff. That's unique to him. But musically, it could have been replaced. And I'm not saying that to dwindle down or belittle Jay-Z's career, any of that. I'm just keeping it 100%. There are plenty of black artists that could have filled Jay-Z's shoes. No problem. Eminem, it's been clear as day, and as the years have gone on, there has been nobody that has been white that has been remotely close to Eminem's level of talent. Nobody. Since Eminem came out in 1999 till now, and before, you could argue Beastie Boys, they're cool. Vanilla Ice was really just a pop hit maker with Ice Ice Baby. One hit, disappeared after that. Mac Miller was a lot of people rock with him, so I think he had the best chance because he wasn't just like a one-hit wonder as a white artist. Paul Wall lyrically wasn't there, but he was dope. Asher Roth was at one point hailed as the next Eminem. Any white rapper that came out was hailed as the next Eminem because Machine Gun Kelly is there, but he kind of went to rock, didn't really have a huge impact on rap like that. Whatever. There hasn't been anybody even remotely close to Eminem, right, as a white artist. So removing him would have a way drastic effect versus Jay-Z because it's black culture. That is just a pool of different black artists versus one white guy, essentially. You had the Beastie Boys, Vanilla Ice, Eminem. I don't know who else, man, off the top of my head, but you had a few white rappers, but Eminem was like here, and the rest are like here. It's like a huge drastic change, right? With Jay-Z, it's like, yeah, he's lyrical, he's up here, but, you can put Nas up here, you can put Black Thought up here, you can put, I don't know, whoever else you want to put that's black that raps really well, right? So you could eventually replace Jay-Z's music with somebody of that nature, right? That does that kind of music. Now, this is where you can't replace Jay-Z that I'm going to talk about. And this is where I really praise him because this is a field that if he is removed from hip-hop, it does drastically affect it. And that is the business side of hip-hop. I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman, right? Rockefeller started independently, pushing CDs out of his trunk, building it to the major record label he did, and being owner of your company. Pushing that early on is a huge impact in hip-hop that obviously had a huge effect on other artists. I mean, my favorite, 50 Cent, you could say to a certain extent, Jay-Z influenced that because 50 took ownership in Vitamin Water in 2004 when a lot of artists weren't taking ownership in companies. Now, Did Jay-Z influence that? Potentially. I don't know. I'd have to ask 50 on that end. But regardless, Jay-Z's business sense is what really impacted hip hop. And that's where his huge influence comes from in my eyes. Like the Chris thing, right? If you guys don't remember, before 2006, all of hip hop was rapping about Chris because it's the expensive champagne, not Moet, but Chris. Everybody's rapping about it. Then the CEO, or I believe it could be the CEO or, someone high up in the Chris company, right? Got asked about rappers using their champagne in videos and how he felt about that. And he basically made racist remarks. He was like, I don't really like it, but what are you going to do? You can't tell people to not buy our product, which is one of the dumbest things you can say. And what that did is that motivated Jay-Z to get his own champagne and liquor, and then eventually became Ace of Spades, right? His own champagne, not liquor, but champagne, Ace of Spades. Because Jay-Z was like, fuck that. If you don't want me spending money on your product, then I'm just another black guy that you hate. So let me create my own product. Let me own my own shit. And then, bam, Ace of Spades, which obviously set a precedent for a lot of, black artists in hip hop and motivated a lot of black artists to start owning their own things. And that is a huge impact. There's nothing that you can deny about that. Business-wise, his impact is insane. But if you were to take both of them away, I think the global reach of hip-hop would have reached its peak at a certain point. And it's messed up to say this. It is messed up to say this, but this is just a harsh reality, right? Is black things just don't have a more wider reach than white things do, white people. And 50 actually got told this for his Get Rich or Die Trying movie. They said because they essentially didn't say this directly to him. I don't know what he said exactly, but 50 said, I don't know if he got told directly this or, indirectly, that because you're a black lead in the Get Rich or Die Trying movie, we're not going to put your movie, it's not going to appeal to as much masses. So we're not going to put your movie in a lot more movie theaters like Eminem's 8 Mile did. And sucks to say that, but yeah, for majority of the time, black content doesn't have as wide as an appeal. And why is that? Because in America, I believe black people make 13% of the population. So it's a little harder to cater, because naturally as a human, you gravitate towards something that looks like you. So 13% of the population in America looks like Jay-Z, right? Black, comes from the culture, makes sense. Eminem, though, I don't know what the percentage of white people in America is. I believe it's 30, 40, way higher percentage than black people. So, of course, Eminem coming out, it's going to have a wider appeal. More people are going to be interested. So, Eminem really got a lot different people interested in hip-hop. I first heard of hip-hop because of Eminem. And I was a fucking foreigner out of a war-torn country, refugee, with nothing to me. But my sister heard of Eminem first. She played it for me. And then obviously I liked other artists after that because I got intrigued and I was like, dude, this hip hop shit is cool as fuck. Let me listen to other people. And then eventually Nelly, Ludacris, Jay-Z, Nas, The Game, Mobb Deep, whoever, right? I would listen to a bunch of artists at that point. But that opened the floodgates for me. And that opened the floodgates for a lot of people. And that's not getting into like Eminem fighting the FCC for freedom of speech in hip hop, Jay-Z, fighting for, a lot of different things in hip hop as well. They have at the end of the day, they're both legends and you have to respect their impact in hip hop. I just think Eminem's wider reach in hip hop put a lot more money in a lot of people's pockets. And he influenced a lot of different artists to say that, hey, if this white guy coming from a trailer park out of Michigan, out of all places, can make it and become this superstar level, why can't I? So yeah, that's my take on it. I do think Eminem has a bigger impact, but let me know what you guys think of it. I think it's an interesting conversation. Regardless, both have had huge impacts, and I respect both, especially Jay-Z with the business side of things. He's done a lot for that. And then Eminem musically, obviously, we know where that's at. But yeah, let me know what you guys think.